Hello, welcome. Hi, Sarah. Hi, April. How's it going? Good to see you. Hi, Monica. So I'm going to start because I'm gonna. It's good to see you. And if you could just take a second and introduce yourself in the chat, you can say, who you are and what you do, your title, where you work, whatever you want to share. I'm so happy that you're here, and we are going to have some fun, and it's going to be very informative and helpful. So grateful that you're here. And while you are doing that, I'm going to share my screen. Spunt in the house. Welcome.
Glad I finally got the link. Found it.
Yay, I know. Technical difficulties are always fun, aren't they? It's just the best.
Excited to be here, though.
Yes, I'm grateful you're here too. Can y'all see that? It says howdy. Okay, cool. Awesome. So how to identify major donors. You made it. You're here. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through. Yes, thank you, Ryan. You're here to help me. I'm so grateful. So this is what you're going to get in the next hour. We are going to walk through how to define a major donor, right? Why does that matter? We're going to define and talk about the 3 biggest mistakes that I see nonprofits making when it comes to identifying major donors and what you can do about that. And then my 5-step method where I'm going to walk you through it step by step on how to identify major donor prospects. So, and then 2 ways that I can help you. And then we'll do a Q&A at the end. If you have questions throughout the course of the time together, you can put it in the chat. Just put capital Q, colon, and then write your question. So it'll be easier for me to find them at the end. How does that sound? Sound good? Welcome, Elizabeth. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. I'm so happy you're here. So as you can see, we have a lot to get through in this time because I want to make it as valuable as possible for you. And so I'm just going to run through this and make sure you're taking notes. It's going to be really practical stuff. So who the hell am I? I know most of you, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm Julie Ordonez. I am a major gifts coach. I help nonprofit EDs and founders and leaders raise a lot of money through individuals. I help them raise major gifts, 5, 6, and 7-figure gifts in a short amount of time, shorter than you think is possible. And I started out as a 1-person development shop at a small community center in South Los Angeles. I put that I'm originally from Houston because you're going to hear a little bit of that coming out because that's just the way I come, a little bit spicier. I'm going to tell you like it is. And I attribute a lot of that to Houston. Yeah, I got fired from my first fundraising job. So I wasn't the best, like, right out of the gate. But I did have amazing mentors, and I moved into more of a specialized role, eventually worked my way into a major gifts officer position, where I just did major gifts for 4 years, all day, every damn day, major gifts, major gifts, major gifts. And I raised $2.5 million from individuals doing that. I loved it. that was my most favorite job maybe that I've ever had. So I love this stuff. It is so fun. You get to meet the most amazing, incredible people. You get to really challenge yourself, and you get to talk to people about their passions and what they care about and what they would be willing to sacrifice for. It's a really meaningful job to fundraise. And so since then, for the last 3 years, have been coaching fundraisers and helping them to build the courage to ask for more and to raise major gifts. So I do that in 2 ways: through Courage Lab, which I got some Courage Crew folks up in here, whoop, whoop, and shout out to y'all. And through working one-on-one with fundraising clients. So that's me in a nutshell, very short nutshell, but that's what I do. That's who I am. So you're ready to jump into who is a major donor. Are you with me? Say yes in the chat. If you're with me. Okay, great. So who is a major donor? Why the hell does that matter? So a major donor is someone who gives at a significant level that is major to your organization. So you have to define exactly what that is. I just put a really simple chart here to kind of serve as a guide. This is not a hard and fast line. But let's say if your annual budget is 100K or around there, then you could decide, okay, anyone who gives $250 to $2,500 is considered a major donor. Let's say that a lot of your annual budget, let's say you have $1 million budget, but a lot of it comes from foundations and from government grants, from corporations, right? And let's say that 100K or less of your budget comes from individuals. Then you might also say $2,500 is a major gift. Does that make sense? So it's really important for you to decide what is our organization going to consider to be a major gift. And when I usually use the term major gift, I'm talking about 10K plus gifts given on an annual basis. So with that, it's really up to you. And the reason this matters is because you're going to define, these are the groups, this is the group of people who we're going to say, we're going to be really intentional with our communication, with the frequency and the quality of communication, because these people, come hell or high water, are the least risky in all of our revenue streams, right? Corporations can change their strategy. They can decide they no longer want to give this way, and you don't really have a lot of control over that, right? Does this happen to anyone? Or we have galas and fundraising events, and there's a freaking global pandemic that none of us knew was coming. And so our events that we rely on are at risk. With individuals, you have a lot more control over your engagement with them than you do with any other entity. Governments, depending on the administration, all of a sudden can decide that they're going to change their priorities and the way that they fund nonprofits, right? So this is why it's really important to define what a major donor is for you, because you're saying this group of people, we are going to decide, we're going to be intentional and touching base with them once a month and treating them like insiders, like a part of our team, because they are, right? And the way that they're a part of our team is by giving at this certain level that is major for us. Does that make sense? So put in the chat, what is a major gift for your organization? What do you consider a major donor? And if you don't know, then just say, not sure, don't know yet. It's totally fine. What would you say? From an individual. Mm-hmm. 5K and up. Yeah, that's great. 5 to 10K, still defining it. Right now it's 2,500, but we need to increase it. 3,500 regionally, 10K nationally. Yeah, that's really great. Great distinction, Sarah. I love it. Yeah. And the reason it matters is because it changes not necessarily the quality of donor communication, right? Because you want to be high quality with everybody, but the frequency. So these people you're going to be more intentional with, and you're going to keep them in the know more often. So here are the three, we're moving on. Here are the three biggest mistakes that I see with nonprofits in identifying who a major donor is. Okay. And there's me looking like a boss. Okay, it's awkward, you know, there's a photo of you. So number one, you assume that you don't have them. I hate this one. I hate it. Oh, all of our donors who give $2,500, they're maxed out. That's the most they can give. Who says? Who said that? Did they tell you that? Did you talk to them? Right? We make a lot of assumptions about people who already give, and we assume that they're maxed out. We assume that they're tapped out and for fear that we're going to appear like we're out for their money. So we don't want to broach that subject, right? Which I totally get. For fear that we will offend them. So we just want to leave it. Okay, we'll settle for this money, even though maybe you could give 50K. We don't know, but we're not going to touch it because we don't want to seem greedy. Right? Has anyone been there? Has anyone felt this before? This tension of, I don't want to come across like the only reason I'm talking to you is because of your money. If that's you, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever experienced that. And what I would say to do instead of assuming that you don't have these donors is to ask them powerful questions, right? To talk to them. And one of those powerful questions that I love to ask to uncover what it is that they might be able to do is, what would be a meaningful gift to you that you would consider making, right? What would be a meaningful gift that you would consider making? Because when you use those terms, meaningful, right, you find out it taps into their passion and what they would be willing to do based on their passion. And you'll learn a lot in asking that question. What would be meaningful for you? So ask questions is what to do instead of assuming. Number 2, you spend money on wealth engines when you don't really cultivate the donors you've got. This connects to number 1, right? We would rather just keep people at arm's length and look up in a wealth engine, which a lot of them can be really inaccurate, to be perfectly honest with you. The best data that you're ever going to get is from your donor's mouth. And if you ask them, hey, what would be a meaningful gift to you? Or you talk to them about, hey, why did you decide to give, right? What is it that you love about the work that we do? These types of questions will allow you to really see, oh man, this is really personal to them. This is something they're super passionate about. And the things we're passionate about are the things we're willing to sacrifice for. And the only way I would really advise wealth engines is, let's say that you have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of donors. You have 10,000 plus donors. You can't possibly get to know them or comb through them. Sure, okay, fine. You want to get a wealth engine, go for it. Number 3, you assume that all major donor prospects have to be high net worth individuals. So millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, right? And this is so common. If we could only get a meeting with Oprah, then we'd be set. If only we could just get this celebrity to host our gala, then the major donors would just come flocking, you know, or like The truth is, and we know this, that sometimes the people who have the greatest wealth, the greatest capacity, are not always the most generous. Type a yes in the chat if you know that to be true. The people who have the most money are not always the most generous. So I want you to stop overlooking people who, in your wealth engine, they're not going to pop up. Not going to pop up in your wealth engine. But based on their passion, they might be willing to give what you and your organization would consider a major gift. And you know how I know this? Because I'm a major donor, and I am definitely not a high net worth individual, not yet. How many of you give to an organization, maybe it's your own organization, or to another one, and that organization would consider you a major donor? Because what I find is a lot of fundraisers are also givers. The best ones usually are. The overall theme here that I want you to get is passion is greater than capacity. Passion is more important than capacity. So I'll put that in the chat. Passion greater than capacity. Say it with me. Passion is greater than capacity. That's what I want you to get, okay? Because passion goes beyond reason, goes beyond logic. When you're passionate about something, you'd be willing to sacrifice for it. And that is not going to show up in a wealth engine. Okay. So here we go. Proven, evergreen, 5-step method. It's proven because this is the same damn thing that I've been doing for over a decade, and it works. And I have been helping my clients do this exact same thing to raise 5, 6, and 7-figure gifts. Now, it's evergreen because you can use this tactic throughout the course of the year. It is not just applicable at the end of the year when a lot of major donors typically give, or when you're doing a campaign. You can use this method any time of year. And it's actually best if you do that. The individuals who are most likely to be your major donors are current donors. This is where you're going to start every single time, and I'm going to walk you through this 5-step process on exactly what I mean. So there's absolutely no confusion, okay? What I mean when I say current donor is anybody who gave you any amount of money. If there was a donor who donated $25, if there was a donor who donated $250, $50, $100, you get the idea, right? Let's say $1,000. These are your number one potential major donors because they already gave to you. They already understand giving. You don't have to convince them to give. They already do that. And you don't need to try to convince them about the quality or the power behind what it is that you do, right? They've already bought in. And sometimes major donors who are super passionate learn about you, or a friend invites them, or their friend is doing a campaign for you, or they come to an event, and $100 or $250 is just a like, hey, I think you're a great gift. Like, hey, Lyft, I think Lyft Chicago is great. Here's $250. Definitely not the most they could give. Definitely not their capacity, not even close. It happens every single time. There are donors who could give 10K plus gifts who give $50 or $100. because they're just sending you a, hey, I think you're great kind of gift. There's not a lot of intention behind it. They just wanted to be a part of something or tell their friend like, hey, I'm happy to help you. Right? But if there was more intention, if we did a good job of cultivating and engaging them and keeping them in the know, there's a lot more there. So, you ready for this 5-step process? Number 1, I want you to put a 30-minute appointment with yourself on your calendar every Monday in the morning. If there is a recurring meeting that you already have with your team on Monday morning, I want you to move it. I want it to be every week on your calendar, and what I'm about to show you is going to be 30 minutes a week. And I want you to treat it as an appointment. So this 5-step process is going to take you 30 minutes a week. If you have more time to spare, great. That would be amazing, right? If you could spend 30 minutes a day doing this, that would be a dream. But 30 minutes a week is it. So once you do that, during this 30-minute appointment, you are going to go through your donor list. When I say your donor list, I mean, ideally, you're going to start with the people who gave within the last week, even if it's $25 and it's just a random fluke gift that you have no idea who this person is. Maybe they found you on Instagram, they clicked donate, and they gave 25 bucks. We don't know who they are, right? Or if, let's say you don't have any new donors in the last week, who are the most recent donors? You're going to scan through that list. You're going to see who these people are, their name, what information you have on them, how much they gave. Yeah. Then you are going to conduct some research on them. So first research you're going to do is internal research. You're going to look at your CRM, whatever that is for you. If it's Salesforce, if it's Bloomerang, it could be any, I don't know what y'all use. Let's say you don't have a CRM, totally fine. Wherever it is that whatever spreadsheet you use, whatever it is that you're using to track donations, look up that person and see, where did they go to an event? Have you been emailing them lately? Have any of you people on your team been emailing with them, right? I would search my CRM, my inbox, look internally to see what was the most recent communication with this person. Then I would Google them. I'd look at the first page of Google results. And I am looking for what do they do for a living, their job title, their company. I go to social. So I'm looking at LinkedIn. I'm connecting with them on LinkedIn, and I'm also sending them a message on LinkedIn saying, hey, saw that you gave this past week. I'm Sarah Spunt. I'm the ED of Lift Chicago. Really grateful for your gift. Happy to be connected on here. I saw that you went to this school. That's the same school I went to, or saw that you are on this board. I actually know somebody who works there, or whatever the connection is, right? And what you're looking for is to see quickly. I don't want you to spend a ton of time on this, and you could end up going down the rabbit hole, okay? And I've done that. But what you're looking for is to see, what is their lifestyle, right? What do they do? Are they vacationing in Capri? Do their kids go to a private school and that private school tuition is 50 grand a year? These are all things that are available online. You're looking to see their tenure at their company. Are they a lawyer and they've been a partner at that firm for 20 years? Then we can have a better sense of what their salary might be, right? We're looking for all of these things that tell us a story, including their giving and their volunteerism, their community engagement, right? Their philanthropy. Could you search their first and last name? Could I search, Monica Morales, because you're in Austin? I would search your name, Austin, and then maybe gala, or your name, Austin, and donation or sponsor, or any combination of those things, right? And people's annual reports, if they serve on a board anywhere, you're going to see all that. That's going to show up in Google search page 1 results. And why this matters is it tells us who, if this donor is a giver, that's what we're looking for. It also gives us a sense of how much do they give to these organizations. So all of these things paint a picture of who this person is, and it does not take long to do this. It takes minutes. And the more that you do it, right, this is your new Monday routine, the quicker you're going to get at it. The first time you do this, I think you could expect to maybe go through 2 people on your list. And that's fine. We don't need to boil the whole ocean the first time you do this, right? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Do you do this already?
Go ahead, Sarah. I saw you on mute. I can go. Yeah, since like my entire job is just individual giving, I don't like run a whole department like a lot of you may, or some of you may. I do this with every new donor that comes in, kind of as the donation comes in, and then just like input the information in our database. But like none of like research and all that was not there really before I started. So it's kind of like building from scratch.
Yep. Yes, Elizabeth. That's great. Yeah. And I would schedule it because I don't know about you, but if it's not on my calendar, it ain't happening. Great. So the next step is you're going to ask for a meeting. When you do some research on this person, and let's say you find out that they're a board member or that they've given to other organizations, you're just going to reach out and say, hey, thanks so much for your gift. I'd really love to get to know you better. Keep it super short, super, super, super short. When is a good time to have a 20-minute chat to connect so I can learn more about you and share with you what's going on at our organization? Here's a link to my calendar. That's it. That's what you're going to do. And yeah, that's it. That's what you're going to, you're going to ask for the meeting. I would mention 20-minute chat in the email, because sometimes when people ask for meetings, it's unclear, like, hey, let me know when you want to meet, when you want to chat. And people could assume, oh, that I don't have an hour to spare. Well, I'm not asking for an hour, and you really don't need an hour. You could just use 20-minute touch point. The next thing you're going to do is on that meeting, you're going to ask powerful questions. So questions like, hey, Sarah, why did you decide to give? And you're going to find out, oh, well, I'm actually from the neighborhood where you're in. I'm from that neighborhood. And I see what y'all are doing, and I want to be a part of it. There's any number of things that this person could say to you. And, or let's say, April, I know you're in the homelessness space, right? So they could say to you, I've asked donors this and they've said, yeah, I was homeless. I've had people say, oh, my mother just passed. And so I, inherited money and I wanted to give this in her honor. I mean, when you ask powerful questions, you are going to learn so much. And it's going to tell you, and it's going to reveal, you guessed it, their passion. And that's going to show you way more about what they might be willing to give. And you could even ask, how would you like to be involved with us moving forward? What do you envision? They might say, oh, well, actually, I haven't really given it much thought. Sarah, what do you need? And this is where you say, well, here's what we need. And you tell them the truth. You tell them what you really need. We need people to help us, fundraise. We need people to, we need volunteers. We need in-kind donations. We're looking for a pro bono photographer. I don't know, any number of things. So this is the 5-step process. You're going to set a 30-minute appointment. You're going to go through your donor list of most recent donors. You're going to do a little search on them. You're going to send an email. And then once you get a hold of them, right, you're going to ask some powerful questions and uncover their passion and also more of their capacity. So you can ask that question, what would be a meaningful gift to you? Or what impact are you really looking to make? Is another great one. And you will understand the depth and the level of their commitment and their passion. That's what matters more than their capacity. And the best data that you're going to find about your donor is from them, right? So tell me if this sounds like something that you can implement.
I think it's something that is very feasible to implement. I think I have a very specific obstacle to overcome a little bit before being able to implement it fully. Like, I think it can be implemented with a handful of people, but the reality is, like, we just don't have that many individual donors that come out, like, and I put that as like a question here, that have been outside of like previous events or like a random peer-to-peer fundraiser. And so I think it could be starting with some people who came in the last end of year campaign through like some peer-to-peer fundraising that we did. But I think even a first step too is just increasing the number of individual donors we have at the entire level too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think here's the piece that I'll say about that, right? If you're not doing a good job of engaging the donors that you have and you start focusing on bringing new donors in, then they're going to get the same quality of experience that your old donors got. So start with the people that you've got, because again, it takes way less effort to talk to somebody who's already given to you than it is to talk to somebody who's brand new. Even if they gave 2 years ago, you can reach out and say, hey, you know what? Just going to come clean. We haven't done a good job of keeping up with you, and that changes today. I'd love to have a 20-minute chat to get to know you and to tell you what we've done with your money and how we've invested it and how you've helped us change lives, right? That kind of communication takes minutes, again, right, to just write up that email. And rather than, well, let's create this whole strategy to try to get new donors in here, people who don't even know who the hell we are. That takes a lot of effort, right? Events take a lot of effort. New donor campaigns take a lot of effort. But even if somebody has given you a couple years ago, I would start with them before trying to reach out to totally cold people who maybe, right, have a lot of capacity, but we don't know if they're passionate. It's likely that someone who's already given to you has some passion for what you do. Okay. Any questions on this before we move on? Put them in the chat. Oh yeah, the question I had for you was, is this something that you do? And then you said, Monica, I do it. Oh, that was my previous question. Is this 5-step process, something that you can implement? I want to know. I think regardless of your role in your organization, if you have any sort of fundraising responsibilities, I would love for you to get super comfortable being able to research current donors and not having to rely on someone else to do that. So here's the truth. The reason that you haven't raised more is because you haven't asked for it. That's it. That's why. It's you, with the people that you've got, engaging them, building authentic relationships, getting to know them, understanding their passion, and then inviting them to be a part of it at a greater investment, at a greater capacity. That's how you raise more money. And here's the thing too, you have to have the guts to do it. And I get this, because the more that you're asking for and the more responsibility you have, the more money you end up raising, the more that you grow and your annual budget is increasing, the risk is higher, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily get easier. And that's why I do what I do. I help ambitious nonprofit leaders get the courage to ask for more. So if you are looking for support in that, there are 2 ways to work with me. The first is Courage Lab. It's my 6-week group coaching program. There's so much more to research. There's so much more to cultivation and raising major gifts that we just don't have time to go through today, but I go through in Courage Lab. If you are interested in that, let me know. I'm happy to share more. And then the second is one-on-one fundraising coaching. So we do weekly 1-hour calls. It's a 4-month minimum commitment. And the typical result is that you raise 5, 6, and 7-figure gifts. So those are the 2 ways to work with me. And I have 1 opening for fundraising coaching in August. And then Courage Lab starts in September. So if you're interested in that, happy to share more. And so now we have plenty of time for questions. So let's chat about this, about identifying major donors. What questions do you have? I know, Sarah, you had one up here. Steps for building.
We asked that, so don't feel you don't.
Yeah. Not based on events. I would try to do this same exact process with the people who attended the events. Hey, even if they gave nothing, even if they donated 0, you have an attendee list. Go, if you have contact information for them, look them up, Google them, see who they are. Google their name, Julie Ordonez, the city that they're in, gala, whatever it is, look them up on LinkedIn, connect with them. Hey, you came to our event a couple of years ago. We're just doing this thing where we're reaching out to all of our previous event attendees and just saying thank you for coming and for supporting us. You know, you showed up and you were there. And so that really matters to us. And I just want to say thank you and get to know you better. Why did you decide to come to our event? You could apply the same process to people who attend an event or who volunteer, frankly. I would say the second highest prospect for being a major donor after current donors are your volunteers. Plenty of my clients get volunteers to become major donors just because they ask these questions, right? They're like, hey, and then they communicate with them, right? So I really teach people how to create a communication system that works for them. What sets of criteria do you use to determine how much to ask for? Yeah, so I don't have a lot of time to get into that today, but I'll give it my best shot, Elizabeth. So I look at where they give elsewhere. So if they donate, again, this is on a lot of annual reports. If they sponsor an event or a gala, then you see the amount for that. Usually it's very easy to find. I look at that. I look at their passion. So if there's someone who, for example, I have a client who is in healthcare, and they provide bone marrow donors for people who have been diagnosed with leukemia. And one of their board members was diagnosed with leukemia and got a bone marrow donor, and they saved their life. This organization and what they do literally saved their board member's life. So I would say that person is really passionate and a huge believer, right? And that's an extreme example. And you only really know this through having conversations with your donors and asking them powerful questions. So again, having a dialogue is the ideal scenario. The ideal dream scenario is that your donor comes to you, Elizabeth, and says, so I know that I'm thinking about, my gift this year, and how much do you think I should give? That's the dream scenario, that you have such a close relationship with this person that they see you as an advisor in their philanthropy, and you can advise them, well, based on the impact that you want to help us have, I would advise that you consider this. A big part of it too is self-trust. So you've got to be able to trust yourself and your instinct, and allow your own personal belief about what a lot of money is. That really can't be the determining factor, right? We have to be able to put ourselves in our donor's shoes and think about them and where they're coming from. And that's a big piece of the research. If I plug their address into Zillow and I see that they're living in a $6 million home, that they pay $120,000 a year for tuition for their kids' private school, that I can see all of these things about their lifestyle, right? And then I'm like, oh, would you consider giving $2,500, please? Maybe, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to inconvenience you. It's like, okay, think about the numbers that this person might be looking at all the time, and what might be meaningful to them is a lot bigger than your comfort zone will allow. So it takes guts. But ideally, it's a conversation about ask amount. What do you think, Elizabeth? Yes, I see you're smirking over there. Yeah, it takes courage for sure. And everyone, deals with fear. So I would definitely wouldn't judge yourself for that. It's normal. But fear is not enough of a reason to not raise more money, right? Because we do this for the people, for our community. That's why we're asking big. And so courage is really rooted in humility, and I'm able to step out of my comfort zone because I'm doing this for others. Right? When we focus on ourselves, ooh, what are they going to think of me? You know, oh my God, I'm going to look like a greedy son of a, you know, it's like, oh no, that's where we get stuck. But if I'm willing to look and feel, however, if I'm willing to feel sweaty and uncomfortable and shake, and if I'm willing to appear like a fool maybe and get it wrong, then I can go for it. And people are pretty forgiving. I mean, I've asked for a lot of money and gotten no. So, and then later on, it resulted in $500,000, $1 million, $250,000, you know, so it doesn't have to be the end of the world, even when you hear no. What other questions do you have about this? Any questions really about major gifts?
So we have a unique opportunity this year where new or upgraded major gifts will be matched starting at the 10K level. And so figuring out the best way to leverage that while cultivating, like with our existing donors too, who a lot of them have not even given at the 10K level. I think our max gift is normally around the $3,500 level. And so knowing that is a pretty big level up, but not unheard of too. So
Yeah, so you're saying that, let me understand the match. The match is dollar for dollar if somebody gives 10K or above.
if they're, yeah, or 10K or above, or if they are a returning major gift donor, if it's an upgraded gift. So if they gave 10K and it's upgraded to 20K or 25K, then that would match too. So new donors at 10K, like new donors or an upgraded returning donor would be matched dollar for dollar.
So then if somebody gives 3,500 and they decide, and then they give 10K, do they qualify for the match?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that is quite it's a little bit of a complicated match, but okay. Yeah, I think it's about messaging and just letting people know about it. You know, are y'all doing that? Are you emailing people and talking about it?
Yeah, starting to have conversations around it too.
How are people responding?
I think there is a lot of excitement around it. I would say, because for those of you who don't know, I work for a national organization, and then I'm in the Chicago region. In our region, we don't have that many major gift donors to begin with. And so I think the conversations are more around like focusing on people who would like to upgrade. And so starting to have the conversations. And so I've had it starting obviously with board members, and then also board members who are connected to wealth management groups, but that's also new prospecting. So really trying to focus on some of our current donors and identifying people that would be a good ask for that.
Yeah. So I would do this process, right, for everybody who you think could be potential. And then I would try to get as many 30-minute meetings as you can get and ask people, you know, what is your plan for your gift this year? Or, you know, what questions do you have about Lyft and about what we do? I mean, even before that though, if there are some communication pieces that you can do, like, you know, sending them any sort of updates on just what's going on, like yesterday. So Monica's in Courage Lab, and Monica, I'm going to use you as an example. So she was like, I have all of these donors who give $2,500, right? Which is similar to you, Sarah. You got some $3,500 people. And I need to like communicate with them and update them on what's going on, but I'm super busy and I'm applying for this massive grant. This basically $500,000 grant. And I said, well, then, hey, whatever material that you're using to apply for that grant, take a paragraph from that, or if you have a slide deck, take a couple slides, and just the most impressive part, the juiciest part, the part that you think is really great, send that to these people. Just email it to them and say, hey, we got invited to apply for this $500,000 grant. And just wanted to let you know, like, we're really excited about it. And here's just a kind of a sneak peek of what we're sending over to them. And I thought that you would want to see it. Even little things like that, right? Where you can work smarter, not harder. You don't need to recreate the wheel. You don't need to come up with some whole new thing for these people. As long as the point is, as long as you're keeping them on the inside, you're updating them on even just what's going on. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, how's it going? What are the wins? What are the challenges? Like, even if it's small, those little pieces of communication that happen over the course of time will really do exponentially more for you when you get to that point where you're like, hey, let's talk about this match and let's talk about what you want to do for your gift this year, right? So that's what I would say. Before you even broach the conversation of the match, what is happening with your organization that you're excited about, that you're spending a lot of time on, that you could just share like a snippet of, to just treat these people like insiders, right? They don't have to see the full view. They don't want the full view, probably, right? And that way you're able to, maximize your time and be in communication with these people. And that way, I think it will become organic and natural. In maybe August or September, you set up this 30-minute call. And in that email, you're going to say, and the purpose of the call is to talk to you about your gift this year, or the purpose of the call is to talk about this match and see how you would like to be involved. And just let them know up front. That's what I like to do, because that way it's really clear when the money conversation is coming. Otherwise, it's like, okay, Sarah wants to meet. Is she going to ask me for a donation again? Like, just reach out and update people on what's going on regularly, and you will raise more money even without asking for it. And Monica knows because she's done it.
No, that's really helpful. And I think too, just in terms of picking up communication or lapse communication, like playing the new ED card and being like, I finally got my feet under me and I know what I'm doing, sort of, but just want to pick up conversation and update you from the past year. And so ideally moving forward, there wouldn't be this lapse in communication.
Yes. And I would say with all donor emails, keep them as short and sweet as possible, and personal. Like, are you obsessed with your dog? Put a picture of your dog. Be like, hey, P.S., here's a photo of my dog I'm obsessed with. Hope you're having a great day. Like, humanize it. because we get so many emails, right? And most of them suck. And we don't read them. So, or hey, like, I know that you're a foodie, and I went to this really great restaurant in your area, and, I ordered the prime rib, and I hope that you go soon, or whatever. I don't know. But just like be more of yourself. That would be my greatest advice in all of these donor communication pieces. Like anytime that you email somebody or you give them an update, or just be more of you, not less, because we're looking for authentic connection, especially right now. And we need to just be human with people. So we just have a couple minutes left. Any other questions? Oh, and I will say, Elizabeth, with the how much piece, I have a workshop that I did last month that's about major gifts planning, and it thoroughly answers that question. So, and I think Stephanie has access to that. Anything? So tell me, what is your biggest takeaway? Take a second, think about it, and write in the chat, what is your biggest takeaway from this conversation? Yeah, current donors. That's great. Yeah, because they're the ones who they already get it. They get it at some level. And you're going to uncover how much do they get it, Yeah, Elizabeth, that's really good. And if there is a way for you to make it more human, to make it more fun, to be more of yourself, do that. Follow your instinct there. To make it a weekly task, part of what I do on a consistent basis. Yes. Because when you touch base with people regularly and you're not asking for money, you're letting them know what's going on with your organization and just keeping them in the know, like you would with a friend or a family member. If they were going to ask you, hey, Monica, what's going on with Div Inc? What would you tell them? You'd be like, it's really crazy. We're growing really fast. And what would you say to that person? Say it to this donor, just like that, just like you would. You do that consistently. And what happens is people will learn that once they're in the know and they know what's going on, they can respond to it. They can respond and they can help spontaneously. They don't need you to prompt them. Your communication, right, will prompt them. Your questions will prompt them. You'll start to ask questions that nobody else asks them. Like, oh, what kind of impact do you want to have on the world? Who the hell's asking your donor that question? Nobody. Right? If you want to stand out, like actually talk to people and get curious about them. I love it. So I love your takeaways. I really appreciate your time and being here and your really great questions. And I cannot wait to hear how you are finding new major donors who are going to step up. I'm excited for you. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I love to be on LinkedIn. I'm there all the time. I'm on Instagram. You can email me. I am available to you. So thanks so much for joining me, everybody. And I hope that you have a great day. Great job. You did it. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Sarah. You're awesome. Thanks, Monica. Thank you, Ryan.